making. And for episode, we're about to go through and highlight a melanated married couple, or just go through some lessons that we got. Make sure y'all tap in with the conversation. Queen, where can they go to tap in?
TheeM4Show.com.
Yes, ma'am. And make sure y'all follow us on Instagram. Queen, where can they follow us on Instagram?
TheeM4Show.
Now, if y'all haven't liked and subscribed, it would make the Queen very, very happy. If you can go ahead. Very? What should they do?
You should go ahead and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
It's free, and your first step to becoming a millionaire. Go ahead and click that button. And let's get into the show.
Let's do it. Hello.
Welcome, amazing, beautiful people. Queen, I know I'm across the world, but just give me a second, okay? I know I'm thousands of miles away, but I still want the honor of giving this intro. Can you allow me that honor, my queen?
Please go ahead.
Oh, come through. All right, y'all. Welcome to another beautiful episode of the Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making show. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and my new given name by the God people in Ghana. I am out here currently is Papa Papo Samwa Kukuronku. His firstborn son, who is a strong leader and warrior. And of course, I would be definitely not the strong leader and warrior without my beautiful, my amazing, my galactic, is she smiling? My smiling queen herself. Please introduce yourself.
Act like you know me over here. Yeah, I'm smiling. What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. And the Health Nerd. And yes, happy to be joining you here. As you can see, I am currently alone on camera, but the king is here with his voice and with his spirit. So we're happy to have him.
Oh, 100%. Sorry I couldn't bless you with my melanin today, with my beard, with my locks, but I'll be back in the future. I don't know if I'm going to be back next week per se, but I'll be back in the future, y'all. All right. Currently, I'm literally sitting on a porch in Banku Beach, Ghana. It's a small city outside of Cape Coast, and our hotel is literally right on the beach. I can see it. I can hear it. It's like 100, 200 meters away. It is just beautiful. So if we haven't, I know we've been doing, small businesses and really shouting out people. I really just want to shout out two businesses that do this work and they bring people to Ghana to experience this, right? If you've never been to Africa, if you've always had wonderings about the motherland and what the culture is like, what the experience like, what the food's like, what the music is like, these are two companies that you can reach out to that can create a beautiful experience for you. One is some of our friends at UC Davis over at West to West, and you can follow them on Instagram, West to West. Shout out to the squad. In Queen, I think it's West to West movement on Instagram. But West to West, you can Google search them and they'll beautiful. And then the people that I'm currently on the tour with are the Talking Drum. Again, you can find them on the World Wide Web, as the young kids say. Well, that's what the old kids say, isn't it, Sinclair?
Yes, it is. And if you have to ask, it's probably something the old kids say.
Yes, but we'll link them in the show notes of this episode. But West to West, Talking Drum, just two organizations creating amazing opportunities for transformation and just a spiritual experience in Ghana. So definitely tap in with them. All right. But Queen, as usual, before we officially get into the episode, can you please hit the people with the Did You Know?
Yes, sir. So this morning I had the pleasure of doing a yoga class with my parents. Shout out to my dad, who was the one who actually initiated this. So we went to a yoga class and we all struggled together. Let me just say that for anybody thinking that I just walked in and took charge. No, absolutely not. But It was a really great experience. I left feeling sweaty. I left feeling good. I left feeling meditated and calm. So this week, I wanted to bring a little bit of that experience to you all and say, did you know that yoga can, and let me just go down the list because there are so many benefits of yoga and I'm feeling all of them right now. Yoga can improve your flexibility, can reduce stress, reduce inflammation, increase strength, reduce anxiety, boost immunity, improve your cardiovascular function, improve your sleep, improve your posture, and improve your brain function. And that was not the entire list. I had to stop some point because I was like, I'm going to lose them. Look, yoga is a great practice to incorporate on any type of regular basis. It's great for mobility, right? We all want to be able to move our bodies and really use them for as long as possible while we're here on this planet. But also it has great mental health benefits of just being able to put us in that rest and digest mode, right? Most of us were running around, we're, picking up the kids from school, we're getting dinner ready, we got our stressful jobs, and we have to be very intentional about putting ourselves into a mode that is going to promote rest and healing and growth. Right. And that cannot happen when we're in that stressed out state. So yoga is a great intentional way to tell your body, one, I'm listening to you, right? It's a great practice to just start to listen to your body. I'm listening to you. I hear you. You are safe. We are safe. We can calm, we can heal. So definitely just practice some yoga. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go join a class right away, but if that's where you want to start, that's absolutely fine. There's also apps out there like Down Dog and a whole bunch of other yoga for beginners, a whole bunch of apps, free apps. You can even get YouTube videos wherever you feel comfortable starting. Maybe it's in your living room. Just go ahead and just try like a 5-minute yoga routine and see how it feels, and then increase from there.
Yeah, and for some reason, I think sometimes, and first off, that's a great did you know, Queen. I love how you tied it into the family and your own personal experiences. But I think, growing up, or actually, I'm learning some more language out here. I would say indasi, which means like no problem, don't mention it. Indasi. But I think sometimes yoga is seen as like a feminine action. But men, I highly encourage you to still stretch, even if you want to be one of those big, brawly men. You out there, you getting muscles, you lifting 450 pounds. That's beautiful. You still need to make sure you are flexible. You still want to make sure blood is flowing properly all throughout your body. And then, as you see, as the Queen talked about, it's not just your physical body. It also helps your spirit, your anxiety, your mind, and all that stuff as well. So please, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, whatever you can spare, just start practicing a little bit of yoga. Help as well, y'all. All right. Now, Queen. Amen. Ashe. Now, something else that we know helps to decrease stress is having a stable place to live. Am I right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So what I would love for you to discuss, in my absence, I want you to put the team on your back, and I want you to walk through how people can buy their first real estate property, because you were a huge influence and a huge guide in us buying our first property. You were an amazing influence in us getting our second investment property. So I think it would be amazing if you're able to walk people through the steps on what they can do to get their first property so that they can have a place to call their own, start building equity, and have an asset to pass down to their family. Is that cool?
That sounds great to me.
Oh, all right. Well, without further ado, beautiful people, let's get into the episode.
Get into the episode.
Over 50% of Black Americans are unmarried, and only 2% of Black families in America have a net worth over $1 million.
We are on our journey to not only join that 2%, but grow that 2%.
Facts. I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, with my beautiful co-host.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. You can go to our website at them4show.com, our Instagram at them4show, and our YouTube channel at Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making.
And welcome to the M4 Show.
All right. Can I take it away, King?
Oh, if you would do us the pleasure and the honor.
All righty. So, as the King said, today we are talking about the 9 steps to buying your first property. So this is like, we all have our different lanes. Thank you, Jay. We all have our different lanes, right? The King's really lane that he jumped into first, and I've kind of followed along in his steps, was entrepreneurship. That is his lane, and we kind of, although we do a lot of things together, we kind of divide and conquer almost a little bit at the same time, to where Devon is really leading the way in the entrepreneurship, and then I'm kind of over here leading the charge when it comes to real estate. And that's how we're building multiple streams of income and making sure that we have a good set of wealth assets to pass down to our children. So one of those that we preach on this show as a good way to be able to pass down wealth to future generations, create that generational wealth, is with real estate. Having that property, that land with your name on it that you can pass down. And before I jump into the nine steps, why, I'm going to first just cover really quickly why we even consider that one of the pathways. One, we're all in real estate. Every single person on this planet is in real estate. So whether you are owning, whether you are borrowing, whether you are renting, you are in real estate. You are either paying somebody else's mortgage or you're paying your own. And so I think it's important to just be on a side of real estate that is going to work for you. If we're all going to be in the game here, we might as well be on the winning side. So this is going to be for those of you who are going to be going into your first property. I know we're all starting here, all of us melanated married millionaires in the making. I told you I would.
Come on, get it together. Get it together.
We're all starting off at different places. So if you've been listening to this podcast and you are still kind of starting that process of, maybe I want to go for my first property, but I still need to do some research, this is the episode for you. Make sure you send it to anybody who's also thinking about getting their first property. With that being said, let's jump into it. Can I have the first?
Something else?
Oh, go ahead.
There's also while Jair pulls up that slide, I know there's multiple zero down programs that are going on right now, right? Some sponsored by Black-owned banks, some sponsored by more common commercial banks. So there's, I think, going to be an uptick in the amount of people that are going to be eligible to get their first home with 0% down, which is obviously amazing, because you're able to enter into that house, into that property, with hopefully already some interest or some equity based on the grants or the forgiveness that these banks, these programs are giving you. So it's not just about buying a house. You want to be strategic. The Queen's going to go through the 9 steps. You want to be strategic to build that wealth. And then there's also some other, tax advantages that we can talk about. There's business ownership advantages that we can talk about. There's the how to use a HELOC or a home equity line of credit to then be able to buy an investment property. So this presentation is just going to be an introduction. This is just a real estate investment 101. And then we're going to be able to dive into more things later on to build off of these foundational building blocks. But Queen, go ahead and get it rocking.
Yes, King. I'll cover on a lot of those things in a little bit. So thank you for that introduction. So I want to break it down, and like the king said, we're going to keep it real high level here, and hopefully do maybe a follow up where we can put some numbers to this and do a deeper dive into each of these steps. But I want to start off with number one, which is kind of a mixture of like step 0 to 1, because I put 3 different steps in here, and that's because they're the pre-steps. There's a lot of pre-work that needs to get done before you actually like go out and like, oh, you know what, I want to buy a house, let me make an offer. There's a lot of pre-work that needs to be done.
Right.
But what I think is arguably the most important thing for you to do first is to set your intention for wanting to buy this property. So, are you looking for a entry kind of level home for you and your family? Are you looking for a condo for you to just live in for a couple years and then maybe you turn into a rental property, an investment property? Are you looking for something to is this an investment property, or is this something for you to live in, right? Is it owner occupied versus investment? And just really come up with like, what is the purpose of buying this property? Because that purpose will help you determine kind of the route that you should go and things that you should consider when you're actually looking for that property. So it's set your
Right.
intentions. The other 2 parts of number 1 are save and research. So save is the amount of money, right? It's actually saving money for your down payment. And to the king's point, there are, and I have a whole slide to talk about this in a little bit, so I won't dive too deep into it right now. There are different programs that will kind of determine, that can help you determine how much of a down payment you're going to need. But in my very humble opinion, even if you plan to take advantage of a 0 down program, you still should have some money saved up for things that you don't expect coming, right? There are a lot of fees and things associated that are not always outlined up front. And so you would hate to get hit with a bill like, oh, by the way, you still have closing costs that you need to cover that maybe aren't wrapped into the 0 down loan.
Right.
Or an earnest money deposit. They'll usually say like, oh, it goes towards the down payment or it goes towards the loan. But if you're not anticipating having that liquid cash to put down, that you could find yourself in a bind. And then if nothing else, you
Yeah.
need
Do
like,
you mind, Queen?
yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind, Queen, briefly explaining what an earnest money deposit is, and then maybe giving people, even if it is a 0% down program, what would be the percentage of the sales price you think they should aim to save?
Yeah, so a earnest to answer the first point, the earnest money deposit is something that some folks is not always required. So I will say that we did not have to send one for the first property we acquired. We did have to send one for the second property we acquired. So it really is kind of up to the seller, the market, all that stuff. But an earnest money deposit is typically something you have to put down either with the offer or once your offer gets accepted, to basically say that like this is in good faith, right? To basically say like I'm putting down money because I'm serious about this offer. And that is something that typically will get put towards the down payment or towards the loan amount, but it is some anywhere from like 1 to 3 or 4% that is due up front, to let the buyer, to let the seller know that you are serious about this purchase. Wow.
Nice.
And it is separate from the down payment. Sometimes again, it can go towards the down payment, but I do want to just say that it is money that you might have to submit actually before the down payment is even due, like to let them know again that you're serious about this offer. And did
Right.
that answer
And I
it?
remember when we were trying to. Oh, second question. Go ahead.
No, I said, did that answer all of your question?
It did, Queen. And I was just going to give a quick example on how it can trip us up, because the first time that we were trying to buy a property in like 2018, yeah, 2018, we went to go see a house, and they were asking for an earnest money deposit, and we didn't have that in our calculations, so we literally couldn't get the house because we weren't prepared for it.
Right.
So it's not like a huge amount, but I mean, for first time home buyers, maybe you're about to get married, or you're already married, so you're a little bit strapped for cash, or you're just living in 2022 and we just went through a whole panorama and you're strapped for cash. You want to make sure you're just planning for that little extra
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things that it's kind of like insurance. Like you're just plan to have it there for whatever happens, because I could try and guess what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, there are just random things that can just pop up and be like, what? I've never heard of that before in my life, but I got to pay for it. So here we go. So it's just important to just have that cushion.
Right.
What I was going to say earlier, if nothing else, if you go through the whole process, you acquire your property, you close on it, and you still have some money left over, that's great, right? Use that for furniture, use that for upgrades and things like that. It's better to have money saved up than to now have a property and you have $0 to furnish it. And you're just going to be sitting on your hardwood floors. That's no fun.
Right.
All right. You got anything else for, sorry. The last thing I wanted to say on number 1 before we move away from it is to just clarify what I mean by research. So research, this is arguably one of my favorite things to do, but there are different things that you should research before jumping in. One is like the down payment assistance programs I mentioned, or the type of financing you're going to want to go into. I'll have a slide on that later on. Real estate agents, right? Your real estate broker, your real estate agent. Who are you actually going to work with? Word of mouth is one way to find a good one. You can jump on Redfin, you can jump on Dr. Google and just search for, real estate agents in your area. But I think it is good to maybe ask around, right? Again, everybody is in real estate at some point. So there you probably have friends or family who know somebody who just bought a house, and they can recommend an agent who can recommend an agent. And, that's a good way to find somebody who is going to be good. Otherwise, you can also just, do some searching on the internet. Neighborhoods, right? If this is something you want, a property you want to live in, what neighborhood do you want to be in, right? We don't have kids, so things like neighborhoods for schools, it hasn't been something that we've thought about as of now. But if you have children and you wanting to make sure you're moving into a good neighborhood where the school that you want, like, that's something you may consider. And then and generally just asking around for tips for off-market properties, things like that. So that's where the research phase can be really handy, is knowing what you want before you enter into actually searching for that property.
Yeah.
You got anything to add, King, before we move to number 2?
Yes, I mean, as we transition slide to number 2, what I want to kind of just circle back to is the power of intentions. And we talk about manifestation all the time. And not only, set your intentions for the property, what you want to use it for and all of that, but like literally envision it, right? Drive to those neighborhoods, pick a date that you want to do it, be realistic with it, but pick a date that you want to buy that property. And literally in our experience, that's what we did with our first property, right? We said, the queen was like, you know what? It would be a beautiful scenario if we can get married, go on our honeymoon, and when we get back, move into the house that we own. And I was like, yep, I agree. That would be dope. Let's make it happen, right? And God willing, the power of the universe, we were able to do exactly that. Like, and the timing was almost perfect to the day. So we're huge believers of manifestation. I am self-proclaimed king of manifestation. So not only when you're setting your intentions for the purpose of the house, but like literally manifest on it, pray on it. That's what you do. Do yoga while thinking about it, meditate on it, and just be very intentional about your housing energy. But Queen, what is the second step after I set my intentions, after I save, after I do my research into property and real estate inside the neighborhood? What do I do next?
I'm waiting for the slide to switch. There we go. I want to make sure I don't go out of order. Number 2 is to set your top 3 priorities. And when I say priorities, I mean for that specific property. So if you are looking for a 4-bedroom house, how important is it that you have 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, right? What is the top 3 priorities, your non-negotiables? And the reason why I say top 3 is because it's important to come up with what are you willing to budge on and what are you not? Because as your real estate agent is going to look for things that closely fit to what you want, but there's always going to be some type of compromise typically, right? So whether it's the neighborhood, maybe it's close to the neighborhood you want to live in, but not quite in the neighborhood, or maybe it's perfect, but it's 3 bedrooms and not 4, or it's got 2 bathrooms instead of 3, or it's got a small backyard without a pool. So like, what are your 3 non-negotiables? Is it going to be the number of bedrooms, bathrooms? Is it the large kitchen? Is it the hardwood floors? Is it the laundry room? Is it a granny flat? Like, what are your top 3 non-negotiable things? You will not buy a property if it does not meet these 3 things. And the reason why I think it's important to stick to 3 is because you can't have 10 priorities, in my opinion, because
Please don't. Oh my goodness.
If you have 10 priorities, you are going to be looking for years, because it's going to be hard to find something that meets these 10 non-negotiables. So if you start with 3, that leaves wiggle room for you to find a property that fits most of your criteria and maybe is a compromise in this one area. So yeah, that's all preference. That's all that's why it's important to come up with what is the intention of your household, right? If it's for you to, start building your family, then the number of bedrooms might be important, because you might want a separate nursery than, for you to all be living in one bedroom. Or it might be, having a pool or not having a pool. Or again, it might be the neighborhood so that your kids can go to a specific school. Just decide what those priorities are, list them out, and make sure you also communicate that to whoever your broker or agent is, so that they can keep that in mind, and not show you things that are outside of that criteria. Anything to add?
Oh yeah, and I would say this is a beautiful test for newlyweds, or even for people who are thinking about marriage. Like, write down what are those 3 priorities, right? You go in one room, they go in the other room, you both write down your priorities, you come back, those priorities don't match. And then you have to now figure out, okay, well now, I wrote down what my priorities are, right? I want a office, I want a view, and I want 2 stories. And then maybe the queen was like, I want a amazing kitchen, I want a huge backyard, and I want a bedroom with the view. And it's like, okay, well now how do we put these 3 priorities together and come to a compromise? I think the word compromise has a negative connotation to it, because I guess someone's going to lose in a compromise. So you can use the word agreement, whatever floats your boat. But at the end of the day, marriage, living your life with your partner, with your lover, like, it's going to be a constant ebb and flow of agreements, of compromise. And this house, I think, is a great first step, or a huge, maybe not first step, like a huge significant step for y'all to be able to come up with those priorities together and then execute on that vision together. So yeah, it's beautiful. Enjoy the process. If y'all don't agree on everything at first, work through it, communicate. If you do agree on everything, then hey, maybe that is an amazing sign from the cosmos, and you should put a ring on it ASAP.
Yeah, I agree. It's and that's why I think it's important to just come up with 3. Because again, if each of y'all got 5, you put them together, now you have a very specific property that may exist somewhere on the universe, but
right.
you gotta wait for it to come on market. And start with 3. Like you said, I think that I love the idea of like each of you come up with your 3, and then you come together, and together you decide like what is our top 3, and keep it there. And again, hopefully you get a property that meets all of your boxes, checks all of your boxes. But the likelihood is that you may have to just drop, maybe compromise, or what do you call, agree on one thing.
Yeah.
Which is at the end of the day, everybody's winning. That's what to keep in mind. Just because maybe you wanted a specific thing and you didn't get it, everybody is still winning in this situation, right? You get to buy a property that is yours. You get to call your own, that you get to pass down, sell, whatever your exit strategy is. But yeah, I like that recommendation. All right, moving on to number 3. This is find a realtor or a broker. This is, I think, a natural next step is, once you've come up with your priorities, now you need to communicate those to someone who is going to help you identify that property. I think it is smart to get somebody who, again, that you maybe can vet, through a friend or a family member or something, but that has a good track record, but also is very familiar with the area you are trying to buy in. I think that's also very important because typically, as a good real estate agent is going to know their area cold. They're going to be keeping up with projects and things coming in,
Right.
new laws coming in, up and coming neighborhoods, crime in certain neighborhoods, down payment assistance programs available. Like, they're going to keep abreast of all of those types of updates. So finding a really good agent is
Keep abreast. Well, look at you. You're
I'm gonna pull out my
you're so
SAT
cool,
words every now
Sinclair.
and then.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, and also someone that you have a good working relationship with. This is going to be someone that you're not going to spend like a lot of time, but you're going to spend a good amount of time with them, right? And you're going to be out searching for properties. They're going to be a part of this process with you. So you want to find somebody that you can vibe with and that you can tolerate, at least during this process.
Right.
A quick anecdote for us, we had a great agent, Justin, who actually told us about this. I guess it was a down payment assistance type of program that his lender that he works with was able to suggest for us. We couldn't have even found that on our own, right? We were very lucky that he was like, hey, you're buying in this specific area, there's actually a program for properties in this area that you can take advantage of that's going to lower this and give you this benefits and things like that. So that's what the power of finding a really good agent can do, is they can bring you the information that is going to build that relationship, but also hopefully make the process a little bit easier for you. Since, of course, for first time home buyers, hopefully they keep that in mind. They walk you through the steps, and they just make it a nice, smooth process as much as they can for you. Anything to add?
The only little piece I want to add to that is the fact that our first agent was Jose. All right, we got referred to him by one of my mentors, Elroy, and Jose was very knowledgeable about the Oxnard area and the Port Hueneme area, which is where we were going to buy previously. It didn't work out in that area. Time had passed, and then now we were looking at a new area in the San Fernando Valley, and we wanted to keep working with Jose. And we were like, this is the area that we want. And Jose, being the stand-up realtor that he was and being, connected to other people, he was like, you know what? I don't know that area, but let me go ahead and refer you to one of my colleagues who does. And boom, we then started working with Justin. Justin knew the area. He was very patient with us with all of our questions, got us that dope down payment assistance. So, like, good realtors know other good realtors. So even if you, for some reason you're networking and you connect with someone in Sacramento who's a realtor, you connect with someone in Texas and Chicago, and you're not looking in that area specifically, ask them, hey, I'm trying to buy a house in LA, in Texas, and Chicago, and Oakland. Do you know any good quality realtors? And then that way you can get connected as well.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to number 4. This is an important one, and that is to get pre-approved. So this is, once you've kind of got all your ducks in a row on what you want, now you have to go to the bank and let them know, or ask them basically, how much money can I get approved for? A pre-approval is basically you asking the bank, how much money would you allow me to get a loan for? And they will write up a letter and say, okay, you have to turn in a whole bunch of paperwork. You turn in, pay stubs, bank statements. I'm trying to remember if we had to do tax returns. Might possibly tax returns. But you give them a lot of information that they are going to use to determine what kind of borrower you are, right? How much your credit, obviously they're going to check your credit to determine basically how much money that bank is going to allow you to get a loan for. And it's typically like, okay, you're approved for this amount of money, and you can then take that to make an offer on the properties that you want. So let's say you turn in your information, your pay stubs, all of that, and the bank says, okay, all right, based on your information, I'm going to say that I'm going to pre-approve you. This does not mean you're automatically getting the loan, but I'm going to pre-approve you based on this little information that I have. I'm going to pre-approve you for a $500,000 property. So now you can go take that, and one, you now know your budget, right? You now know I can look for properties $500,000 and below. So that helps you decide, like, okay, this is our this is how much we can afford with where we currently are. But then it also lets all the sellers know that, oh, okay, they have a pre-approval letter, so the odds of them getting approved for a loan to buy this property is pretty high. So if I wanted to I wanted to sell to them, I'm in a good situation, and so that they are more likely to accept your offer. And a lot of times they're going to require this pre-approval letter in order to even accept your offer. Anything you want to add there, King?
Please do not skip this step.
Yeah.
Because it would break your heart to find, like, you do the research, you find a property, you're working with a realtor. One, a good realtor is gonna make sure that you have your pre-approval anyway. But in case for whatever reason they don't, you don't want to like be at a property. It's the perfect property for you, and you're competing on bids, and you're the one in the race that doesn't have a pre-approval letter. Mm-hmm. You're not going to win that race, right? You're not going to be able to get your loan in time to get that property. So, like, follow these steps. They're in a particular order for a reason, right? We haven't told you to go shopping yet. We haven't told you to find a house yet. Get pre-approved so you know what your budget is, and then go on the hunt. Please don't skip that step.
Two other points to point out. To his point, getting pre-approved is a good pre-step before you go out and searching. Why? Is because sometimes we can really dream, and right, and it's like, oh man, I want $1 million home. If you're not going to be approved for $1 million home, that can be heartbreaking, right? You're out there looking for all these 10-bedroom homes, and then the bank is like, actually, you only qualify for 400,000, right? That's going to be crushing if you have already been looking and found your dream house that is outside of your price range. So definitely important to do that beforehand. But also another point that I wanted to just keep in mind, everybody to keep in mind, typically a pre-approval is good for 90 days. So so if you get pre-approved, know that you have 90 days based on that letter for it to still be valid. After that 90 days passed, you're going to have to submit paperwork again and get another pre-approval, because 3 months is a long period of time. People's situations can change. So they want to make sure that the information that they have is current. So keep that in mind. You don't want to start this process too early. If you're not going to be searching for the next 3 months, then I wouldn't, bother with the pre-approval. But if you're maybe like a month out, or, you're starting this process and you just want to know how much you're going to be approved for, so that, again, you don't get your hopes up, then go for it. But just keep in mind that they typically are only good for 90 days. Okay.
Sounds good stuff, Queen.
Thank you. All right. Number 5.
No problem.
You got anything before we move to the fun part?
I don't. Let's get to the fun.
Okay. Number 5 is start the search. I think this is the fun part, aside from research, because that's where my brain typically goes. But the searching is the fun part, because you get to now search on, there's a million different ways to search, right? You can go old school and just drive around some neighborhoods and find the signs, right? The for sale signs. You may be able to find some deals before they even go technically on market. Then there's a million different apps right now. There's Realtor, there's Redfin, there's Zillow, there's Trulia. I think that's what that one's called. But yeah, there's so many different.
Yeah, I don't use that one.
Yeah, there's so many different apps that you can go on. A lot of real estate agents will create their own apps based on the MLS and the inventory that they have access to, so you can get alerts from them. There's a lot of different ways for you to find different properties that are on the market or going to be coming to market soon. But this is the fun part. You can, especially if you're going to be using the apps, that is how we found our first property. I found it on the app first, and then I was like, hey, I want to go and tour this one, and it ended up being perfect, or close to perfect. But you can put in all the filters.
It's perfect for us.
Amen. You can put in all the filters, right? I want this amount of bedrooms. I want this amount of bathrooms. I want a view. I want this square footage. I want something under this price range, right? You can filter all of that. You can even search in the specific areas. And yeah, that's where it really does. I think it's the fun part. And going to tour, right? Going to tour is really where you get to go set foot in the property, right? Put your feet in it, actually see, like, can I live here? Is this the next space for me and my family? And yeah, a lot of times I think you can go by like vibe, but also obviously it needs to meet your criteria. But I do remember the feeling that we got when we walked into our condo, and I instantly knew that that was a spot for us. I was like, yeah, this is home. And it felt, especially once we were able to decorate it and make it all our own, like it really did feel like home. So yeah,
I want my house back, Queen.
I know. But yeah, that's the fun part. You got anything to add on the search, Devon?
No, that was well done. Let's get to number 6.
Number 6. All right. You've searched. Now, I do want to say be patient with the search because, again, you got your priorities, right? You got your 3 priorities. You may find some that are amazing, but they don't fit one of your priorities. And so you got to be careful about not letting the emotions of the moment get a hold of you. And then you end up making an offer and getting a property that doesn't suit you. So it's important to come up with those priorities, stick with those priorities. So that search can take anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months to a couple years, right? Depending on what you're looking for. So keep that in mind as well. But once you have found the property or a property, because it does not guarantee that once you make an offer, it's going to get accepted. But once you've found a property that you're like, okay, we like this one. This can be our property. We could see ourselves living here. We're going to make an offer. You let your real estate agent know. Typically, they will draw up a document. They have like a template. You submit the information, right? You type there. They will typically update all the information of like, here's the property. Here's how much we're offering. That's a whole nother conversation that we'll get into when we go into a deeper dive. But just because there's an asking price, that is like a request, right? There's always negotiation involved when it comes to establishing the purchase, what is actually going to be the purchase price for a property. But once you've made that decision with your agent, we are going to offer this amount. Then you send the offer letter along with your pre-approval letter. And typically, I think within like 48 hours or something like that, they will need to get back to you with either an accept or decline. And so that is a little bit of a nervous and anxious situation, especially if it's like, oh, I really want this.
A little bit.
Yeah. But at that point, you're just playing a little bit of the waiting game on, waiting to see if they're going to accept. Now, of course, you can, a good agent is going to do some digging, right? And so you may be able to know like, okay, yeah, they're considering this. It's a strong offer, or, they have a lot of other offers, or, if they just upped it by this much more, it might get accepted, right? There's a lot of kind of back and forth that can happen. But
yeah,
if they accept it, that means you are that next step closer to having this be your property. And that's when kind of the escrow process starts. If they don't accept it, that doesn't necessarily mean that can mean different things. Sometimes it'll come back with a counter offer. Meaning, okay, I'm not accepting the price you gave me, but if you up it by maybe $5,000 to $10,000, then you have a deal. And that can go on again for a couple times until there's a final price solidified, or sometimes it can be a flat out no. If it's a popular property, maybe they had someone come and offer cash, right? Then it may just be a flat out no. But that making an offer, and
these people buying properties with cash are just making everything terrible. I'm gonna let you know that right now, Sinclair. All these people buying these properties with $1 million in cash, $750 in cash, they're just making it hard for the rest of us.
You say that now until we become one of them.
Let's manifest that. Let's manifest that, Queen.
Right. But that is the reality. Cash, when it comes to reality, when it comes to real estate, cash is king. And that just means that you've got people who you don't even need to go through the step of getting the pre-approval letter. They don't need a lender, because if it costs $500,000, they've got $500,000 cash money that they are going to wire to the seller the next day. And so for some people, they're like, yeah, I'm going to take that. For a lot of people, they're like, I get all the money right up front. I don't have to worry about the bank. I don't have to wait for anything. I'm going to take that. So that's just something to keep in mind, right? It's not always about, oh, we vibed with them and they liked us, and it's a business decision at the end of the day. So just keep that in mind, that you've no idea of knowing how many other offers are submitted, what they're going for, right? Somebody may submit over asking, and somebody may submit under asking. What else are they including, right? So maybe they're asking for the closing costs to be paid and this other person isn't. There's a lot of decisions on the seller's end that they're going to need to decide who they're going to go with. But just know that once you make the offer, all you can really do is be patient and be ready with a counter offer if they do come back. Anything to add there, King?
So I think we should definitely do a whole breakdown on submitting your offer and negotiating, because there's a lot of like small things like closing costs, for example, can be covered by the seller, but it doesn't have to be. So if you don't ask for it, they won't give it to you, and that's maybe $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 depending on the price of the property that you're responsible for paying for. But you can negotiate within your asking price for them to cover it, and now that's cash that you don't have to put down. So that's something that we did. We offered a little bit higher, but then we put in the closing costs, and it was a back and forth situation. But at the end of the day, we preferred to come out of pocket less cash and have a little bit more on the loan than to put up that $3,000-$4,000 in liquid cash. And that's just one thing. There's a whole bunch of other ones. The other thing that I would bring up in your negotiation tactics is on a lot of these apps, Redfin, Zillow, and even on the MLS. And Sinclair can say what the MLS stands for. I don't know what it stands for. What? Multiple listing service. Haha, Sinclair, thank you for sending that through the universe.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But you can see the last time that property was sold and how much it sold for, right? So if you look on the MLS or on the app, and it says that house sold for, $450,000 in 2019, and you're offering $460,000, you have to, look at it from their perspective. They bought it for $450,000, so you're only offering them $10,000 for equity. That's not a good deal for them, right? Even though that might be in your budget, it's in your best interest. You just want to kind of see where they're coming from, be able to offer a good offer, or at least a reasonable offer up front, so they don't just call you off 100%. They're like, oh, they 460, they're ridiculous, they're crazy, and they don't even accept anything else from you. And they're dealing with negotiations. So it's a very quick and easy step to do. Literally, when was the last time this house was sold? Okay, in 2007, it was sold for $200,000, and now they're trying to sell it for $500,000. That means that they have $300,000 of equity, so they're probably going to have a little bit more wiggle room in what you can offer. But yeah, I think, Queen, we should do a whole breakdown on just submitting your offer and negotiating pricing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even as you were talking, I was thinking about like even doing your research on who the seller is, how motivated are they, like what are their plans, where are they going, so that can also help you decide, right? How long has this property been vacant? Are they motivated sellers? That's a good thing to hear. On the buyer side is motivated sellers, because they typically want something that's going to go quick. But anyways, that's like a whole episode. Right. So we can definitely do a deep dive on that. All right,
dope. We are at step number 7.
Thank you for keeping that in check.
Come on, keep up. Are you not looking at the slides, Sinclair? I see them right here.
I am now. Thank you. Anyways,
okay. Are the slides orange?
It's brick. So there's a little
wow,
it's red and yellow. That's interesting that you saw orange.
I literally, and just for reference for everyone watching or listening, I'm on the phone. Again, if you're just joining, I'm in Ghana. I don't have the I don't see anything, but literally when I saw the slides, I saw orange. But continue, Clint.
Interesting indeed. Okay, number 7 is enter escrow and send the down payment. I don't think there's too much fluff here, except for one. If anybody who has been in the game and has bought a process knows that escrow, the analogy I give for escrow is a black hole. You go into it, and then somehow at the end you come out and you've got keys in your hand, and there's just some stuff that happened, and you don't really know what it is, but you go into escrow, you come out, and you got a property. I promise you, I don't know what goes on. This is a whole bunch of people emailing each other, sending documents, right? You do submit your official loan application. So there's a lot of underwriting. They're verifying your employment, all of that type of stuff. And then typically at the end, you sign a big old packet of papers. The deed.
A big old packet.
It is a huge packet. Typically you gotta get scheduled with a notary. You got to have somebody there to witness you signing them. And once you sign that, that's typically.
Oh my God, Sinclair! First off, hold on. I do not we did videos on this, but we haven't said on the podcast just the foolery that we had to go through in this last Chicago property and sign these documents. And I'm gonna try to make this a brief story, but we read some of the documents beforehand, but we got to the Starbucks, we met with the notary. They didn't tell us there would be a time limit. So me and Sinclair, being the responsible melanated millionaires that we are, we sat down, millionaires in the making. I don't want to, we're not there yet. But we sat down, and this huge stack of papers, we're reading them because we know that Black folks, people of color, we've been taken advantage of in real estate and financial deals for years. So we are reading these documents line by line. And apparently that was not the expectation of the notary. So we were taking too long, and this man very shadily left and then canceled our appointment, and we were charged extra. It was a whole bunch of stuff. So I say all this to say the escrow company should provide you these printed documents before you meet with the notary. So we would advise you to print them out beforehand. You read them, and if you want to read them with your realtor, or you want to read them with a mentor or somebody, if you're not understanding what's going on, but read them, have a good understanding of what you're signing. Because there are some really small things. For example, I know I'm going over, I apologize, Clean. But for example, there was a very small clause that the notary didn't see, but I saw that said, if you default on this property or you miss a payment, then this bank now owns your entire LLC. Mm-hmm. Not just that property, but your entire LLC. And some people purchase multiple real estate properties under one LLC. So if we had one LLC and we had 10 portfolios, and for whatever reason we were missing payments on this one property, this bank would now assume the entire portfolio. And that's a huge loss of wealth for not reading one thing and setting up different LLCs for every house. So long story short, please take your time reading through these documents, hire somebody or work with a mentor. And then when you meet with the notary, you should be ready to just sign, because they do not have the patience for your reading.
They really don't. One, we've had several different notaries at this point. And we've had some really good ones, and we've had some really crappy ones. But the really good ones, every time they hand you a piece of paper, they're telling you exactly what it is. They've done this before, done this for years, and they'll be like, this is the document that's basically saying this. Sign here, verify this information, and then give it back. That's really nice, because each document you're like, oh, okay, I can just skim it because they've already told me what it's for. But we've also been in the situation where they're literally just handing us documents. And so it's like, well, I'm not going to, they're expecting us to just sign and give it back. And it's like, we're not about to just sign. Because again, in that moment, he caught that. We were able to call our attorney. That's a whole nother conversation. We have an attorney for our real
estate. That man didn't even know. That man didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah. The notary did not know. Our attorney definitely did. The notary did not know what that meant. So then, yes, luckily we called our attorney and they were like, oh, that is something that is, your lender is in New York. So that is something that is specific to lenders in New York. So that was good for us to know. But again, had we not read that little clause, we would have never known what we were signing ourselves up for. So, needless to say, I think working with an attorney is a good idea, especially for an investment property. But I mean, it's good to just have somebody you can call and reference these things, ask these questions to, regardless, to know what you are getting yourselves into. A lot of us go into these things just really trusting, and again, thinking that banks have our best interests in mind. History tells us otherwise. So just be smart, cover yourself, make sure you know what you are signing. Okay, let's.
Indeed.
Okay, and then sorry, the other part of this was sending the down payment. So yes, escrow is when you also send the down payment. This is not a Zelle, because typically it's going to be a very much larger sum of money. So this is a wire transfer. Sometimes you can make it over the phone, but a lot of times you actually have to go into the bank, fill out the paperwork, and have them send this money to, following the wire instructions that you were provided. So yeah, typically whoever the lender is will send you, or the title company, whoever will send you, here's the address, the phone number, the name, the bank account number, all these things to where you send the money. You send it, they get it, you're good to go. That part's pretty straightforward as long as you know how much you're supposed to be sending. All right, let's move on. We're down to the last two here. Number 8.
Let's go. Last 2.
Close on equity and get the keys. Again, on equity, close on escrow and get the keys. Again,
look at you. Look at you.
I was jumping ahead. So yeah, again, not too much elaboration here, but like I said, escrow is a black hole, so we're not going to say too much about what happens there. Again, that's just people making sure they got all the T's dotted, or the T's dotted, the I's crossed. You know what I'm saying? They make sure they have
Sinclair, pull it together. Come on.
They just making sure they have all the documentation they need. For us, it was a condo, so like that meant the HOA, they needed certain documents from the HOA. So hopefully you have a responsive HOA, because that's a whole nother situation. But yeah, things like that, they got to check to make sure there are no liens on the property, all that fun stuff, appraisals, like all of that kind of happens during this time period. So it can be anywhere from 21 days. That is the best case scenario. I believe your dad had like a 21-day escrow, right? That was a beautiful thing. And then and then it can also it can also be like 2 months. It could be 3 months. Like there can be hangups. Our first escrow process was just, I think, about 2 months. And that was, again, because we had an HOA that they needed documents from, and that would just caused a lot of delays. But in an ideal world, it's about a month. So something for you.
What's the HOA?
Oh, homeowners association. So typically any condo building is going to have an HOA, because it's shared any place that has shared amenities, shared infrastructure. So again, if you have a building with a whole bunch of condos in it and you own a condo, you're going to be part of an HOA because you have shared amenities. But even also, if you live in a community that has an HOA, maybe there's a clubhouse, there's with some shared, if it's a gated community, typically there's an HOA because you're paying for like the gardening and the infrastructure and security and whatever else may come with that HOA. But yes, that is going to add there's information that typically needs to be gathered for the HOA if that is if your property has one. So that can be a little bit of a delay, but that doesn't change anything, right? That it just an additional factor to keep in mind. All right.
Oh yeah. The last I want to, before we get into your favorite, your true favorite part, Sinclair. You said the research your favorite part. Yeah, I think the last one's really your favorite. Let's be real. But I've a friend that just purchased a property, and I don't know if he wants his business out there, so I'm not mentioning anything. But I will say that traditionally, I love the opportunity to be able to carry my queen across the threshold of any new property as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put this as like a step 3 in the closing escrow, getting your keys and carrying your queen or carrying your partner across the threshold of your new house. Really just, it's officially yours. And that's just, I don't know if that's a traditional black thing, but growing up, that's what I was taught to do. That's what we did for our first property. That's what we need to do for Chicago when we go out there. And we're just going to do that for every property that we purchase, specifically the ones that we live in. But even the investment properties that we have the chance to travel to, I want to carry my queen across the threshold and put the stamp that this is a Walker property.
Ashe. Yes,
Say.
love that tradition. Okay. Now moving into, like you said, my real favorite step here. And the good thing is it doesn't require too much work. But the 9th step here is to build that equity. So building the equity. Is that what you thought the 9th step was gonna be, Devon?
Oh, that's what I knew the 9th step was going to be. What? That's your favorite part, Sinclair. You know how you have a huge smile every time we check our property value and it goes up. It's like, oh, equity. Oh, hello.
And I just checked that either today or yesterday. It's all a blur. But yes, this is a very cool step. Now, I will preface this that depending on when you come into the market, it may not be an immediate increase in equity. But if you do your research on the area, on what's happening, you can be strategic about this part. So building equity can look like many different things. Obviously, as you make as you make more payments, you're going to be naturally building more equity. But equity does imply that the value of the property goes up, which over time, history shows that is going to happen. The reason why I preface, depending on when you come in, keep in mind that the real estate market is like any other market. It does go up and down. So depending on when you are coming into the market, if it's on a down slope, don't worry. Even if it does drop in value, it will come back up with time. It always comes. That's why, you hear about families who were able to purchase properties for $10,000, back in decades ago. And now they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? It is going to increase because it's just, that's how it goes. That doesn't mean it's always going to be a linear slope upwards. But again, if you do your research on what's happening in the area, then you can increase your chances of raising your equity. So for us, our condo is in an area that had a lot of up and coming projects coming around in its immediate neighborhood. So that was a big factor on why we chose this property. We didn't necessarily choose the property thinking like, as soon as we rent this out, we're going to be making thousands of dollars, in cash flow. We knew that was probably not going to be the case, but we did know that in 5 years, the neighborhood around was going to look very different. And that as a result, the value of that property was going to also raise significantly. So we came in this specific property with the long game. Like, we are going to hold on to this one because this area is up and coming. There's a lot happening. There's a lot being built. There's stadiums, there's malls, there's shopping centers, there's apartment buildings, there's headquarters. Like, there's a lot happening in this area. This is going to be a hub later on. So we need to just hang on to this until, we're probably going to pass this down to our kids, right? We don't even have necessarily an exit strategy, but the plan was, let's build enough equity into this property so that we can now leverage this equity to buy other properties, to use it for construction, to use it for other investments. But we wanted to use this equity. We wanted to grow this equity so that we can leverage it to continue to grow our wealth. So that is our plan, right? We want to build the amount of equity so that we can take it out, buy another investment property that's going to cash flow, right? We got the equity built in this one, and then we are going to eventually take some of this equity out with using a HELOC. That's a whole nother episode, but that's a home equity line of credit.
Yeah.
We want to get a HELOC, take this money, buy another multifamily or commercial unit that is going to serve the purpose of monthly cash flow, which means it may not build a lot of equity, but on a monthly basis, we're able to get, however much money, mailbox money, as we'll call it, of passive income from people who are living in this building. So now with these two properties, we've pretty much set ourselves up. Like, that's what we're trying to do, and we're not going to stop there, of course, but that's kind of the model that we're going to just keep doing with the different properties that we do acquire.
All right.
What you got?
And I wanted to add a little bit more context to the reason why real estate prices usually, over periods of time are going to go up, right? So number one, just the basic supply and demand of housing, right? So depending on where you are, if you're in California specifically, we have like almost a housing shortage. Not almost, we have a housing shortage. And in a lot of the urban communities, there is a housing shortage. So literally, because the supply is low, the demand is high, the price will be pushed up. When you go out to rural places, like, where like a Bakersfield out in California, or like out in the countryside in Illinois, the supply may be a little bit higher, the demand may be lower, so the prices may be lower or stagnant. But then now you have what Sinclair was talking about, development, right? New things that are coming in, stadiums, gentrification within a certain neighborhood, or urban renewal, whatever they want to call it. There's development coming to an area. Now you know that the demand is going to increase because of the attractions coming. And then third, another factor is inflation. Inflation is going at about a rate of 3% per year. So if you have $100 in the bank this year and you don't add anything to it, the next year that same $100 only has $97 of purchasing power. So over time, your money loses its value. It takes more dollars to buy the same thing. Now, where with money, that's a bad side. The real estate, kind of like cryptocurrency or like gold, is an asset, can serve as a store of value. So you buy your home for $100, and this is clearly unrealistic, but on auction.com, you can buy some stuff. But simple numbers, you buy your home for $100 or $100,000. The next year, simply with inflation, you should gain 3%. So that same home that cost $100 or $100,000 to purchase now should be at least 3% higher just with inflation. Okay, so again, you have at least three factors that are working with the ebbs and flow of how much real estate will cost in your area. And that's why, in general, over time, especially in America, the real estate prices are going to go up.
Good point. Good point. And again, why real estate is like a no-brainer investment. You gotta, at some point, I definitely recommend everybody getting into the game, because like I said, you're in the game one way or another. Just might as well be on the landlord side of it. Okay,
Right.
so those are an overview of the 9 steps to buy your first property. I had a little chuckle because Devon said, let's make this like a 20-25 minute podcast. I was like, okay, here we are, an hour and 7 minutes in.
What? Goodness, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, so that's what we got. King, do you have an ask declare, or are we wrapping up?
Yes, let's make this a very quick ask declare. I just want to know, what is one major lesson, and we covered a lot of them in this episode already, but one major lesson that you took from our first real estate purchase?
I would say patience. And like not worrying about the things you can't control. And so what I'm thinking about when I say that is the fact again that the part we could control was like the timing of everything that we entered into trying to do this, but we have no control over the escrow, how long it takes, and when we actually got the keys. So to his point, we planned it, planner. So we tried to plan it so that literally our anniversary day is July 7th. So we wanted it, July 9th. The we want no, I was right the first time.
Sinclair, Sinclair?
7/7/19.
I need you to pull yourself together. I don't. Sinclair, no. What? Yeah, come on.
I apologize.
I leave for 4 days. I leave for 4 days, Sinclair.
I questioned myself, but
you know what? You've been on too many phone calls. You've been on too many phone calls, role playing that you're divorced. That's the problem, Sinclair.
That is facts.
That is the problem. You've been on way too many role playing phone calls right now. All right, get it together. All right, continue your story.
That is facts. So anyways, our anniversary is July 7th. We closed on escrow August 5th. So for that entire time, we were luckily where we were staying was a month to month, and she was very understanding once we explained that like we're going through escrow right now, and so we're literally just waiting to get the keys and then we're out of here. And so she literally allowed us to stay on a week to week basis because we were like, we don't know when we're going to close. But as soon as I said escrow, she was like, oh, okay, I get it. But we were borderline about to be homeless for a little bit because, again, we planned to be out of there like in July. We were going to go on our honeymoon and we were going to come back and move into our new spot. Coming back from our honeymoon, and they were still like, we're just waiting on, we still gotta, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm freaking out because I'm like, where are we about to live? Because we got to get out of here in a few days. And we have no idea when we're going to close on escrow. And so all I could control was, hey, let me go talk to the landlord. Let me explain the situation and see if she can work with us, which she did. And so that alleviated a lot of stress. But it was a very frustrating process of, me being semi-control freakiness. I wanted to know, what are we waiting on? Whose door do I have to go knock on to get this information? But it's a lot of stuff that's just going on in the background, and you just have to rely that everybody's doing the best they can. So yeah, it was definitely a test of patience, trusting the team we had, and just trusting that everything would happen in the right time. I think that is, and that's just exclamation point 10x with this investment property. So yeah, that's just what I'm learning, that control what you can. Outside of that, you got to just go with the flow and trust that everything will happen in its proper timing.
Love it. My biggest lesson would be biggest lesson. I'll make it a quick one. I think do your research in the development. I think that was the fun part for me as someone who likes development, likes visionary activities, and just talking about what's next, what are we building, what are we doing. Being able to look through the city plans and look through other development plans within the area was fun. And it was like, okay, well, if this is what they're doing, if they're about to renovate the LA River, if the Rams are about to come in, if Amazon's about to come in, just imagine what our property's going to be like in 10 years and 20 years, and we'll be able to visit, and then our kids will be able to use it, and people can then rent out for Airbnbs because they're going to concerts. And it's just, that was a real fun part. And it was beautiful to see those things actually come to fruition, and even more beautiful, Queen, to be able to see the equity go up the way that we thought it would go up. So do your research and have fun in that process.
Absolutely.
But Queen, this was a great, beautiful episode. Well done on taking the lead and walking us through the steps. If you don't mind giving people the updates for the week, and then we will let you beautiful people get out of here for the day.
Yes. So closing us out, we still have our active campaign going right now for the Black History Adventures of Rose and Rodney. So as you know, we
Yeah.
Black Wall Street, the board game. That's this one right here behind me. And so out of that, we've also birthed a story for the younger kids. The board game's really for ages like 8 and up. Ages below that, this book turned animated series is really going to be catered to that younger group of students, of scholars who can still benefit from learning this history at a young age, from seeing entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, learning that Black history, going around the board, learning what an LLC is, learning what a sole proprietor is, what a corporation is at a young age, can really change the course of of a young scholar's life and pathway, career development, all of that fun stuff. So we need your help bringing this whole series into an 8-episode season to a TV near you. So if you are interested, please, or if you know somebody who's interested, go to playblackWallStreet.com, or you can go to our Instagram page at Play Black Wall Street, or you can go directly to the campaign page, which is at funblackfounders.com/playbblackwallstreet. So any of those places you're going to be able to support.
I just want to make it very simple. Give you one place to go to. Please go to playbblackwallstreet.com. Very simple. Many of you have probably already been to that website, and you can click right on the front page, support our Rose and Rodney campaign, and that will take you where you need to go. Okay, so if you're listening, if you're watching, playbblackwallstreet.com, that's the website you should go to and click to support the campaign today, please.
Sounds good. That's all we got. Take it away.
Yeah. Let me do a very, very, very quick update. And y'all know, or Queen, you definitely know, I usually don't like to toot my own horn. I'm a very humble person, but I just want to go on record by saying I'm literally in Ghana right now. It is 12. What time is it? It is 12:30 a.m. I need to wake up at 5:20 a.m. and we still made this podcast work. The Queens are over there living her life, doing yoga and backflips, and she's still making this work. We are 100% dedicated to teaching you this stuff, to exposing you all to this stuff, to teaching you the lessons that the mistakes that we made, and hopefully giving y'all the lessons so you can save money, save time, and build wealth quicker than what we were able to experience. Please share this information with a friend, share it with a family member. And for the Black History Adventures of Rose and Rodney, like I'm literally in Africa right now, teaching certain people, or I've had conversations with some local Ghanaians about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street, right? You think the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street wasn't taught to Americans. It definitely wasn't taught to people out here in Africa, to people out here in Ghana. They're like, what? I've never heard. What? The Americans dropped bombs on Americans? It's foreign to them. It's just an interesting concept, right? So to be able to take the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street and be able to teach it to people out here, to be able to learn about the Kingdom of Mali, to be able to learn about Ghana, and eventually be able to bring that information back to our students and put that information into the Black History Adventures of Rose and Rodney. Like we are about this life, but we do need your support. All right. So please don't play games. Go to the website, go to playbblackwallstreet.com, support the campaign. Everybody's talking about how, Black Ariel or Black Mermaid is so beautiful. Yes, that is beautiful, but that story was not meant for us, right? Disney's going to make their money. They're going to have their fun, but unless they're changing all the music, unless they're about to change the root message of it, unless they're about to teach the history, that's not something that is necessarily going to be putting beautiful, positive messages into our kids and teaching them about their history and the importance of wealth. So go ahead, support the campaign. Head to playbblackwallstreet.com and let's make this a reality, y'all. All right. So as usual, as y'all know, I'm Devon Truvel, also known as Papo Samwa Uku Rumku, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. And of course, I have my lovely co-host over there.
What is up? I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. I don't have a cool Ghanaian name.
We hope y'all secure the marriage. No, not yet. But I've talked to the Queen Mother. I've talked to Manye out here, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it work for you, Queen. Don't worry. All right. But as usual, we hope y'all secure the marriage. We hope y'all secure the love, and of course, we hope y'all secure the bag. Peace.
Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all, any, do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, anything, all of them, all of them, wherever you're listening. Go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.